Hey, good evening, Group B, my beta group from my hybrid course. Good to see you. Thank you very much. This is my video feedback on your various presentations that you have. I'm going to try to pretty much go through ScreenFlow to give you feedback on your entire presentation. And then you will have until Wednesday evening to kind of put it back in place. So let's get started. All right. Loving the slide, loving the colors. Okay, but the first thing is this is not a presentation from Michael S. Smith. This is the B group. And though, Michael, I understand that you did reliability and you each did a certain segment, this is one presentation. So therefore, that's the one group name or everyone's name at the beginning. This is not individuals. And though you may handle your presentations when you do your presentations individually, still this is a group presentation. So that's how you should start. Reliability. Good introduction. The way it's set up right now, this could just be a handout. I could easily read this myself. This is not what you're supposed to do when you're giving a presentation. You're not supposed to just to read the PowerPoint presentation like this or read along with the group. You're supposed to give them bullet points like you have down here. Because right now, this is what you have a tendency to do. You'll look at the board instead of your audience and interact. It'll say, reliability is the extent to which an experiment, test, or any measuring procedure yields the same result on repeated trials without the agreement of the independent observer able to replicate research procedures or the ability to, okay, so I'm reading a definition, not sure if it's exactly, if your classmates are going to get lost in the boredom or just kind of reading. I will probably convert this a little bit better into short bullet points and then just simply speak to it or have your own kind of short cards or something like that, and you can kind of speak to it from that standpoint. Otherwise, the content itself is pretty okay. You gave an example. So here's an example. You have something, again, that you're reading, and I'm not sure if you're going to read the entire example to the class, but again, they can read for themselves. Examples are to PowerPoint presentations are cues in essence. Cues in order to give the person giving the presentation kind of a hint. You are the expert. You are the one that knows the content. So this is supposed to be a guide for both yourself and for your audience when you're using it. So when you put entire things up here for them to read, then they really in essence don't need you. Just me. The example in itself could be an example. I think if the example, even if you have this up here, if you speak to the example just to talk about the highlights and how people understand it versus reading it and then allowing people to try to figure it out for themselves, it depends on how you deliver this, guys. So, Michael, good luck with that. Equivalency, reliability. Wow. It's like you cut and paste two. Okay, I see the definition and then I immediately see the example. So you have them on the same page, unlike the first slide. So it's a little bit different format. But again, you run into the whole challenge of if you simply just read it straight, you're going to lose your audience. And this kind of distracts from people actually understanding. So I would change these both to bullet points if I were you. These would be bullets somehow. And then use a simple example and then explain the example. I think it'll come off much better. Internal consistency. Again, typical same format. It's less text, but again, this will be better served with bullet points. My opinion. Otherwise, it'd be better served if you speak to it, as opposed to just reading. Whatever you do, don't read this. Whatever you do, don't just read this. Inter-rater reliability. Okay, so now you get into a whole lot of deep stats kind of things. I don't know if you need all of that, all of the specific definitions, but it works. Again, this is all about presentation or delivery. I'm not quite sure if this is supposed to be your example or not, so food for thought on that. Be careful. Validity. Okay, so here's an example of validity. So inter-rater reliability, is that the same as validity? I can't tell. Normally you would traditionally give some type of definition and then you would give an example. So you're talking about internal consistency, reliability, interrelated validity. I'm not sure the flow of this. If you're looking at reliability, validity, and all this type of things, I don't know if it's the same, if it's different. I'm kind of lost. I don't know where you introduce validity someplace. You just kind of almost jump straight into an example. See, there's no reliability. Excuse me. There's no validity definition or something before that. So it looks a little bit out of order. Difficulties of achieving reliability. Okay. Credibility. Okay, this is by you, Grover. Good. But again, one presentation. So a little bit better in the format. Again, these are actual speaking points. So this with some better visuals finally. So that finally begins to assist a little bit as opposed to just all text. Not always good. So someone needs to kind of go through here and look for some consistency. You can speak to this a bit better. Bullet points. Thank you. So this is a little bit more what I'm referring to. Ways of assessing the source of a claim. Credibility, stability. Let me go back. Credibility is this. Claim versus source. Blocks. Okay. Objectives. Ways of assessing a claim. So make sure you speak to this slide. It kind of throws me off a little bit. I don't know if that would have been the first slide of that, but I think what you're trying to say, or at least what I'm getting from the presentation, is if you're going to talk about understanding credibility in the claims, and these are the objectives of how to get to that point. So I'll see how you're going to explain that. I get it, but I'm not sure if it comes off correctly as far as in the flow of things. Accepting or rejecting a claim. You guys are just going to stick. First of all, this graphic is a bit odd. It's covering up some words, so you may want to address that a little bit because you can't see here. So watch your graphics. Good slides. I like the fact that you got a combination of short bullet points that you can speak to as well as graphic visuals. That'll draw your person a little bit better. I'm assuming this is intentional. It is. Factors that written observations are not reliable. Good. Good thought. You need to do, you got a little graphic going on. Finally, some animation. What's going on? Finally, someone's waking up. This is a good presentation so far. Again, it's designed enough to capture the attention, but hopefully the presenter, in this case you, Grover, will be able to speak to it and really capture your audience. Be mindful of your time not to get caught up in each of the slides. You guys are on a nice timeline. Okay. Credible sources. Okay. Good. Bias against advertising. I want to see how you're going to integrate that. And then the end, the greatest bear of my time. It's cute. And then you go into validity. Okay, Manny, and then so again, I'll say the same thing. It's one presentation. You don't necessarily need to have each of you kind of solicit. I would just have the introduction at the beginning of the slide, and your slides would be better off by simply saying this section is about validity now. And you don't necessarily need to put individual sections. You all need to make this one presentation, not three put together back to back, because it's one group. So I'll go through yours again. It's okay. Here I will work into some better bullet points like you did on the first one. Logic and validity of information, validity of true false premise. Some examples. Okay. A little small now, so you're talking about steps. If it was just me, I would keep the steps there. I would get rid of some of the smaller definitions behind each step. I would speak to those instead. So maybe put them in your notes section, or if you want to create a handout to give to the students, you could. And then your summary. Okay, thick. Just thick. Summarize this in bullet points, please. And I'm not sure if that's a summary. Let me go back. I'm not sure if that's a summary of the entire presentation, or if that's just a summary about validity. It's just a summary about validity. So you need to summarize. So here's the problem with the presentation. It's individual. I think that if you all just speak to it and you don't have any way to really engage your audience, with the exception of the few graphics that I saw from Grover's portion of the presentation, where it's a little bit awkward here, there's something kind of some visual stimulating. There are no examples in here or no activity that would help with some dynamics with your classmates. So that's what I would suggest for you right now. Find some ways to get some interaction. Maybe you got some other activities and things going on. I don't see that. That's nothing was in your email that said you all are going to do some in-class activities. So that's what's missing right now. So if you're going to lay it on real heavy and thick with a lot of definitions and examples, and not really have some kind of activity or activities where the class, you can break them into groups, they can do some work, or you have some kind of game or contest or some kind of test and see if they remember the differences, or even in some cases, It may even be ideal to do a good comparison chart or something like that. I'm not quite sure, but it needs a little bit more something to make it interactive and more important to see where the relationship is. And last but not least, as you do your summary, you need to summarize all of it, not just some of it. It needs to be a summary of the entire presentation, not just sections. Otherwise, this section, the last part of validity, had a summary. The other two did not. So figure out how to do that. You got a little work to do between now and Wednesday. But otherwise, I'm impressed. I may have to keep this doggone template. It's pretty cool. That's it, guys. Good luck. And I look forward to your presentation on Wednesday. And again, I will be video recording your presentation. So let's go from there. Have a good one, guys.